Before you guys touch this machine and touch this cart, you should have already watched the video and did the online portion of the certification test. So there's two levels. Level 1 should be done at this point. If you haven't done level 1, you need to do that before you actually come and be certified on this machine. So what we've done here was we just basically did our standard brake job where we disassembled the brakes down to where just the rotors are showing. All right, and this whole process involves the wheels spinning. So if you notice, these slip-on rotors are just wobbling around here. So you have two choices. First choice you can do is either physically remove the rotor, stick it aside on the side you're not working at, or leave it in place and run a lug nut on there to hold it in place while you're cutting the other side. If you take it off, it's highly suggested that you get a paint marker and you mark your wheel stud and you mark the location on the rotor so that it goes back on exactly the same part. This machine is designed to actually true the rotor up to the car. So if the flange has any imperfections, there's anything it's not completely level and standard in here, it actually takes all the imperfections out of it. So if you take this rotor off after it's been cut and put it on a different location, you just undid everything you worked really hard to do. All right. So make sure you paint marker it or just put another lug nut on there to hold it in place. So you may ask yourself, do I start on this side or do I start on the other side? Well, it's pretty simple. You want the controls of this machine to face upward. So what you need to do is you need to look and see what location you need to put this on the car that allows this part to face up. In this particular case, took the rotor and the caliper, or the caliper's off right here, and this little knife assembly is going to fit right in here, all nice and neat, so that this will face upward. The reason why this has to face upward on the first one is because then we do our initial setup on the first rotor. We take it to the other side, and we actually flip the machine over 180 degrees, and our controls are then underneath. So then all we have to do is adjust our knives as opposed to setting up the whole head. All right? So before I put this anywhere closer to that, what I'm going to do is we have to put a hub on here to hold this thing still. And what we should do is we should have actually got a wire brush and cleaned all this up. And since this is just a practice model, we're not doing that. If this was a model of a car that was like actually going to be driven on the road, like today, we get some sandpaper or whatever, get all this rust off of here. So the machine itself comes with all these different adapters. You have to figure out which one you need. This one here says late duty 6 volt. That's got 5. This one here says 5 volt direct fit adapter. It's probably the one we need. We just got to find out which one fits good. That one there fits good. And then we can use either the lug nuts that came with the car, or if they act like they're not going to work for us, we actually have a set of lug nuts in this box right here that are different lug nuts for different make, models, and years of vehicles. So you can choose them out of there as well. So we're just going to use the ones that came with the car. Can somebody go get me a 21 millimeter wrench out of the toolbox in there? Super important, we do not use air tools when putting these on. The material that this is made out of is just like a cast, and an air tool will actually cause them to snap. And each one of these hubs is probably a couple $100 to replace it, so you'll be very careful about that. Thank you, Simon, so much. And then we're going to tighten it up all evenly like you would if you put a tire on it. Somehow I got the feeling that this car is no longer in neutral. I'll have to make sure to get it put in neutral. It doesn't got to be super tight. You just got to snug that puppy on there, enough to hold it flat and in place. Okay. That's on there. Feels nice and tight. tighten it on evenly. I want to make sure the car is in neutral because this thing involves in actually turning wheels. It's in neutral. Okay, so we're good. This electric motor's got a lot of horsepower to it, but it doesn't got enough to overcome like a lot of the force needed to overcome all the gears if it's not in neutral. All right. So on this flange right here, you'll see there's a pin. On this flange, there's a series of holes. The pin itself will have to go into one of these holes, and this actually attaches inside this hole. This screw will go inside of the hole in the adapter, and that's what holds it on the car. So I'm going to roll this over to it, and if you look, this whole assembly is on a hydraulic cylinder. We can raise it, lower it, do whatever we need to get it in here. And as you can see here, we're going to have a problem with clearance, so we're going to have to make a couple of quick adjustments here too. So I'm actually going to, how is this going to work out for me? I'm going to have to loosen my brake up here. Adjust this just a little bit so I can get this in here. It's still going to give me a hassle. Last time we used this must have been on a larger car.
It was.
But we can turn this just a little bit, get that lined up. Once we have this part here all lined up, this flange, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the up, down, left, right, whatever we need to do to get this to go in. It should go in real easy. You should not have to force it. Okay? Once we get that where we need it to go, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten up my brake. Tighten this up, hand tight. Doesn't got to be super like gorilla grip. Just snug's good, you know. Once that's all set up, we're ready to start like eyeballing all this. Now our cutting heads, if you notice about these cutting heads, they look similar to the cutting heads that's over on the on-car lathe. It works almost the same way. There's a couple differences that's actually nice, other than the fact that it trues it up to the car. The angle on the actual blades itself is a different degree. It allows us to work faster, so we can take more material off quickly, so we can actually cut the time down. That's the main factor in it. So the similarities are the same thing. We have to adjust it left, right to get it centered with the hub and the rotor. So the first thing we need to do is we need to loosen this little wing nut here up with the yellow top. And that allows us to slide this thing left and right. And what I usually do is I'll actually wind the head down to where it's actually almost touching the car. And I'll be able to like eyeball then where the center would be, which is about there, and then tighten this up. Now once you do this on the initial setup, that's the only time you have to do it till you're done with the whole front of the car. When you flip this over and go to the other side, you won't have to do that part, right? So I also am making sure that my little cutting blades are not touching the rotor at this point. I'm also going to wind this away from the rotor so it's not touching it, because this first part's really super important. So we have everything all bolted up, but there's a mechanism that's built into this head right here that actually takes and actually trues the machine up to the rest of the unit. And that process goes like this. Okay? So I plug the machine into power. I'm going to turn the power on, which isn't going to work because my set screw back here is not letting me. This is the auto stop, which we should set for sure. The way that this works is, as this head winds itself out, it hits that button to shut the machine off. If this head's in front of that button, it's not going to ever turn on. So I'm going to take it, make sure I'm off the auto stop, turn the machine on, and make sure this is pulled out because that's actually bringing it back in. Okay? So right now this whole thing's turning. This thing says ready from the last time we used it, but we want to reset it. So we're going to hit reset. It's going to go beep, and then we're going to hit start. You hear the series of clicks. That's it's adjusting itself automatically. The old first version of this machine, they gave you a wrench and a dial indicator. You had to sit there and make adjustments by hand. It took a long time to set it up. when it's all said and done, and this thing's like done adjusting itself, it's going to give you a number right here, and it's going to tell you that it's ready by giving you that little indicator right there that says ready to cut. If this number is over 1 point something, start over, take it back apart, re-tighten it the whole 9 yards, and then that should correct it. If this is over 1, that means there's a lot of something there that might be bent. All right. So machine set up, it's ready to cut. All we have to do, we're going to do this just like we do with the the bench type lathe. We're going to take this, we're going to wind it in, and we're going to set each one of these knives till we hear that little tick, tick, tick noise. So we're going to do that now. Let me take a quick peek inside the hole here and make sure I'm not going to hit anything. Which I may. I may have to make an adjustment here, but we'll see. We're hoping not. Alright, we're in. We're going to loosen this guy up right now. I know we used the bungee cords to put that up there, but this machine actually comes with these little S-hooks for this too, which are sometimes more effective than the bungee cord. Sometimes. Sometimes when they want to be.
You just gotta know how to use them.
If they cooperate. They're not cooperating, so I'll go back to the bungee cord. As long as you're not letting it hang by the brake hose, you're good. Okay, I loosened this guy up here. That locks these knives in position. So they're unlocked. We're going to turn these in slowly till we hear that noise. You hear it? Real faint. Okay, I got a little bit more on this side than the other side, but it doesn't matter. Now that I got that making that noise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tighten this up just a little bit. To zero these dials, you lift backwards on them, and then you turn them until you go to 0. And then you line the 0 lines up. Okay? All I did was turn these to 0. I'm not actually adjusting anything right here. So pull back, turn them to 0. Now I'm going to take the knives, being very careful not to hit anything. You don't want it to hit the hub.
Pardon the interruption. Any student council members that are available, please report outside the gym to clean up the table for kickball. Thank you.
We don't want it to hit any of the flat part of this hat area. We don't want it to hit anything on the actual spindle itself. But we can continue to wind this in as far as possible without hitting something. And there's a rust ring on the inside of it. It's okay to cut that off. So be careful not to bottom it out. That's it, but as far as I dare to go. Now, we have these zeroed. We're going to loosen this back up again. And we're going to take off. I'm just going to go 1 line. You could go as much as 2 lines. This machine's actually set up so you can take off 5 thousandths at a time. But I'm trying to save enough of this rotor where you guys can all cut it without it having to be disposed of. So I'm just taking 1 line off of both sides. When you're ready to cut, you get your silencer ready, which is this guy here. Over on that machine, it's the big band, the big gum band looking thing you use. On this machine, it's this. You open it up and you set it on top of the blades. So I don't know if it's going to work on this or not because of the angle I have it in, but we're going to give it the old college try. I really don't think it's going to work because of the angle I have it in. Let me turn this off once, make a little bit of adjustment. I want to make a slight adjustment just because I want to be able to get that in there. I just have to be very careful on this not to run it into anything important when I'm done. Maybe, maybe not. I could have chosen a different car, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not going to fit in there yet. Let me make one more adjustment. We're just going to have to watch this head doesn't run into this part of the car. I mean, I could have probably started on this side, but that's not the way it's designed. So anyway, this is going to go in here, like so. In theory. But it's not going to fit. We're going to leave that out for temporarily. I'm going to put this back where I got it. You really should be using those. I don't know why it's not working for me, but at this point, you're ready to cut. You should have the silencer band on there to silence it, but we don't. You push that in, and it starts to cut. On this particular car, if I was to start all over again, I may actually have chosen to start on the other side because there is no kind of backing plate or anything back here. Just because it seems like there's a little bit more clearance in the front of this, so I can use that silencer and all that. If you don't use the silencer, it's going to affect the finish that you get overall when you're done. It's going to end up looking a little worse. But you're going to be impressed with the way this thing turns out when I'm done, just without the silencer on this thing. Here, I talked for like 20 seconds. I'm already about a quarter of the way through the rotor. If it was on that machine over there, it wouldn't have barely been started. Third of the way through the rotor already. We're talking for 30 seconds. You can already see on this rotor how it's starting to look better. And while this thing's cutting, just like you did in the other machine over there, when we're all done, we're going to want to take this rotor off, take it to the sink and wash it, or get spray on parts cleaner, like brake cleaner, wash it off one way, shape, or form, because the byproduct of cutting the rotor is graphite, and graphite's a lubricant. The worst thing you want to do is lubricate the brakes. This for what, 2 minutes? Or are you almost over halfway through?
It hasn't even been 2 minutes. I've been watching the time. It's been like a minute.
So you can see one of the advantages of buying this machine, just for the simple time it takes to cut a rotor as opposed to what we have over there on the bench. And the other thing about the Procut machine that's an advantage to learn, most of the dealerships now, this is all they have. They don't want you to use their bench machine. If you go walking into a job interview and you show them your certificate that you can use the Procut machine, you're more likely to get hired than somebody who doesn't know how to use it. That's one of the reasons why I got this. I think I'm the only tech school probably in the state of Pennsylvania that's got one of these. It's almost done. Now, if this is the first time this rotor's been cut, you would also watch out for that little rustling that forms around here. If it jams up or whatever, be prepared to turn it off. It's not really that bad. This is, like I said, it's a pretty strong engine motor on this. It'll pull through just about anything. Just about done. Just want to make sure we hear it all stop. Now, if I continue to let this run, what's going to happen is this little turn-off thingy here, it's just a little thing you can set, is going to contact that stop switch right there, and it's going to shut it off. We don't have to wait that long if we don't want to. We can physically turn it off right now and take the machine off the vehicle or whatever. But no matter what you do, you want to stop the thing from rolling, and we can go ahead and turn it off. And we can take a look at this. Now that was only taking one line off of there. If I had taken the initial 2 lines that I originally spoke about, taking the whole 5/1000ths off of there, it'd be a much better surface. So if I'm looking at this and this is my vehicle and I wanted to put this on my car, I would make sure that this is nice and uniform on both sides. And if there's any places that weren't uniform, like there was a shiny spot, or there was a groove, or there was rust coming through, I would probably go back through and take another bite at it. But quite honestly, because of the way that these blades on this thing are designed, it's actually designed so you don't have to make one cut at a time. You don't have to make more than one cut. So from this point, I want to consider this done, just because this is just a shop car. If this was a customer's car, my OCD would be kicking in. I would probably take another cut just because it's not shiny enough for me. But all you have to do, you have it already set up except for the blades. All you're going to have to do is you're going to loosen up this right here, again, and then you're going to loosen these knives up so they're wider. Because when you go to put it on the other side, all you'll have to do is simply take this off of here, slide the machine away from the vehicle. You're going to unbolt the hub, mount the hub to the other side, just like we did on this side, and then we take this tray out, which I can even dump off right now. That's just the metal shavings. It catches all the shavings. Then we take our brake, we loosen our brake up, we flip the machine over. Let's go this way with it. It really doesn't matter which way you go. You just got to kind of watch the wires. All right, and then we'll set this up on the other side. It'll go in like this, and then our knives, the controls for our knives, you see how they're under it? So we're going to bolt this thing up. Whoops. Once we get this where we want it, set our brake, tighten it up on the hub, everything all nice and sturdy and secure. Then we're just going to take our knives, we'll get this thing spinning, get our tick, 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 wind it in, and then set these for 2 lines, put our silencer band on and click it into place. That's all there is to it. It's pretty simple. This whole process was how long? How long is our video?
22.5 minutes.
22.5 minutes, and that's me explaining the crap out of it. The average person can cut 2 rotors in 20 minutes with this machine. Flat rate time on cutting rotors right now as it stands is an hour. Huh?
Stop this.
Hold on. You can run. So you got a time advantage here. If you're a flat rate technician and you're making, like, say, $25 an hour, let's just say you're making $20 an hour, and you're doing an hour-long paying job in 20 minutes, you just ended up making effectively $100 an hour to do rotors. So is there any questions? Anybody has any questions? All right, well, thanks for your patience. Go ahead and